The Zephyrian Fitness Complex hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of alien machinery, its crystalline walls pulsing with bioluminescent energy readings. Commander Vexthul flexed his 4 arms, each appendage corded with the dense muscle fiber that had made him the undisputed champion of the galactic strength circuit for 7 rotations. His chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the plasma lighting as he approached the newest addition to their equipment roster. Dr. Sarah Chen stood barely 5 feet tall beside the towering alien, her simple workout attire looking absurdly primitive compared to the bio-integrated training suits worn by the other gym members. She had arrived on the interstellar transport just 3 days ago, part of the first human cultural exchange program with the Zephyrian Empire. The other aliens watched with barely concealed amusement as she examined their gravity manipulation device with curious eyes. Human, Vexthul's voice resonated through his translator implant. Your species lacks the necessary physiological adaptations for our training protocols. Perhaps you would prefer the meditation chambers? Sarah looked up at the 8-foot-tall alien, noting the way his secondary arms twitched with what she had learned was suppressed laughter among his kind. Actually, I was wondering if you could show me how this works. I've been studying your gravitational field generator's fascinating application of exotic matter manipulation. The gathered aliens exchanged glances. Zekvor, the gym's owner, leaned forward on his 6 legs. The device amplifies gravitational force exponentially. We typically train at forces equivalent to 3 times our homeworld's gravity. For your fragile human physiology, even half that would be lethal, finished Vexthul with obvious satisfaction. Perhaps a demonstration would be educational. Sarah nodded thoughtfully. What's your personal record? 15 times base gravity, Vexthul announced, his chest plates flaring with pride. No being in this sector has managed more than 12. Impressive, Sarah said, genuinely meaning it. Mind if I try? The alien's collective intake of breath created a small atmospheric disturbance. Vexthul's eyes narrowed to slits. Human, your skeletal structure would collapse under forces that barely register to our physiology. Your cardiovascular system lacks the redundancy necessary for high-gravity environments. You're probably right, Sarah agreed, beginning her stretching routine. But humans have this weird thing about limitations. We tend to ignore them. What the aliens didn't know was that Sarah wasn't just any human. She was a former deep space construction worker who had spent 5 years building orbital platforms in the crushing gravity wells of gas giants. Her bone density was 40% higher than baseline human normal, her heart enlarged and reinforced through genetic therapy, her muscle fibers enhanced with carbon nanotube integration. She was, in every sense, a human engineered for exactly this type of environment. The gravity field activated with a subsonic hum. Sarah felt the familiar weight settle across her shoulders as the field reached standard Zephyrian intensity. The aliens watched expectantly, waiting for her to collapse. Instead, she began doing push-ups. Interesting, she commented between repetitions. This is about the same as Jupiter's upper atmosphere. I used to do maintenance work there. She paused, considering. Could you bump it up to about 8 times base? I'd like to get a proper workout. Vexthul's translator implant struggled to process his stunned silence. Around them, the other gym members had stopped their routines entirely, watching in disbelief as the small human continued her exercise routine under gravitational forces that would crush most species. Impossible, whispered Zekvor. Her species doesn't possess the necessary evolutionary adaptations, Sarah finished, launching into a series of squats. That's the thing about humans, we don't wait for evolution. We just engineer ourselves to fit the environment. She grinned up at the shocked aliens. Want to spot me while I try some deadlifts? The Zephyrian Fitness Complex fell silent except for the steady rhythm of human exercise, and Commander Vexthul realized he might need to update his assumptions about Earth's supposedly primitive species. As Sarah moved to the weight rack, whistling cheerfully, the aliens began to understand why humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most stubborn explorers.